So I'm just going to quickly go over how to find the ratios of an angle. So what I have written on our website, I'm going to re-go over in this video, and then I'm going to go over our other question. So when I'm talking about the three ratios, what we're doing is we are going to end up using this angle here, right? So theta is that weird looking thing like this. These are just representations of angles. And when we are talking about finding the ratio of the angle, we're using that acronym SOHCAHTOA. I know that probably didn't make a whole lot of sense to you, so I'm just going to explain it. So when we're talking about SOHCAHTOA, what we're talking about is the sine, cosine, and tan. So when you take a look at your calculator here, which you guys are going to need one, you can see that we're going to end up using the sine, cosine, and tan. So these are going to help us find either a side at some point or an angle, okay? So when we're talking about the SOHCAHTOA, what we're talking about and how I've explained it is I would write that acronym down, okay? So every time I would go SOHCAHTOA, right? Write it just how it sounds. And so this is gonna help us remember what goes where. So when we're talking about this is going to be sine theta is going to equal your opposite over hypotenuse, right? And I'm going to explain what opposite and hypotenuse is, and I know it's been written, but we're just going to go over it again. And then our ka is going to be our cosine, and theta is going to be our adjacent over hypotenuse. And then our TOA is going to be that tan theta, which is going to equal opposite over adjacent. So this is just a way to remember what goes with what. So if we're taking a look at our first one that I have written up there, excuse me, our first example that we went over, our very first step is to label the different sides. Okay, so when we label the sides, the very first thing I would do is label the hypotenuse. So the hypotenuse is the longest side. Okay, so if we take a look, this one right here would be our hypotenuse. And then the next thing I would do, actually another way to realize or know what that is it's directly across from our right angle. Okay, and then our next one I would do is the opposite. So how we determine what the opposite is our opposite side is always opposite of our angle that's given. Okay, so it never touches this angle at all. So this is the one that is opposite to our theta. Okay, so I would put an O there. And then our last one is our adjacent. And you can either mark it as the only one that doesn't have a letter yet, or as you can see, it is adjacent, so it is right beside the theta. So right beside our angle, like our given angle. Okay? And then what I've been asked to do is find the three ratios. So to find these three ratios, we're gonna do our very first one. I'm gonna grab this one. So our sine, right? So I would write sine theta is the opposite over hypotenuse. And then I'm just going to take the letters and plug in the numbers that correspond with that. Okay, so our opposite is 4. And our hypotenuse is 5. And I would just leave it at that. And then we're going to do our ka. So our cosine theta is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse, which is going to give me the A is 3 and our hypotenuse is 5. And I can leave it like that. And then our third one is tan. So I would write it tan theta is equal to opposite over adjacent, which is our 4 over our 3. And I would leave it just like that for now. Okay, so let's take a look at our second one. I know it's a terrible picture, I understand. So very, very first thing is I would probably write my so, ka, toa, right? So, ka, and then toa. This is gonna help me remember. And then I'm going to break it down into, so sine is the S, is opposite over hypotenuse. And then our cosine, theta, is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. And then our T stands for tan, and this is opposite over adjacent. And then I would go and I would label my sides. So our very first thing is our longest side, also directly across from the 90 degrees is our hypotenuse. And then I'm gonna take a look. Okay, where's my angle? My angle is right here. And I'm going to go directly across from it. And this is my opposite because it's opposite the angle. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to label my adjacent side. So either my side that doesn't have anything left or my side is also touching the angle. Okay, and then I'm gonna go and I'm going to find my ratio number 1, so my sine. Sine theta is my opposite over hypotenuse, so my 12 over my 20. And then my cosine is my adjacent over my hypotenuse, so the adjacent side is 16 and my hypotenuse is 20, and I leave it like that. And then my tan, my last one. So T stands for tan. Theta equals my opposite, so my 12, over my adjacent, which is my 16. And that's it. Okay?